The difficult part was supposed to be 6 months offshore, with the hurting, loneliness, and unending cruel shifts on the rake. Like a prisoner etching marks into a stone, I counted the days while enduring the roaring sea, greasy meals, clanging, metal and muscular walls, clinging to the idea of seeing my son Miles and wife Delilah when I got home. I spent every free moment imagining their expressions. Miles crashing into my arms, Delilah's joy lighting up the porch. As I drove off the interstate and onto our street, I could immediately hear them in my head, a thudding in my chest, like a drum. But I wasn't sure what it was that pierced my enthusiasm when I paused in front of our house. At first, it might have been the way the lawn appeared patchy and unkempt, unlike the tidy rows Delilah preferred. Perhaps it was the empty flower beds, once home to her beloved roses, now nothing but brittle, dead shrubbery. I scowled as I got out of my truck and looked around the porch while the motor hummed softly. The wind rustled dry leaves across the cracked surface of the small welcome sign Miles drew in first grade. There was no sense of home or warmth. Across the way, old Mrs. Kramer looked out from behind her curtains. After a brief moment of eye contact, she jerked them closed, like a guilty child smuggling candy. My stomach turned to mush and I slammed the door even harder than I intended to. As I jogged up the stairs, I tried to open the door with my key. This wasn't out of the ordinary, but it felt different. Like a door closing permanently, rather than one springing open to greet me. I knocked. A hollow sound reverberated throughout the house. No response. Panic began to blossom in my chest. Cold, harsh. I knocked again, harder. Still nothing. Then, I heard faint footfalls behind me. I turned. Miles's face was pale and strained as he stood in the driveway, a broken old baseball glove pressed too tightly to his chest. Too tight for an 8-year-old. "Hey, buddy." I crouched, forcing a smile to my lips. He shuffled in his sneakers as if running away from me. I could see the panic in his eyes. "Where's Mom? What's going on?" he said, bewildered. She's at church, Dad." His voice cracked. "Getting married." At first, the words didn't make sense. They came out of his mouth like puzzle pieces that didn't belong together. "Married?" I sounded strange, even to myself. Jamie, my best buddy, the man who helped me build the deck, who watched Miles while Delilah worked nights. He was there at my wedding, laughing, slapping my back. Now he was marrying my wife. Grandma, Grandpa, and Elise. "They're all at the wedding, Mom," Miles muttered. As I staggered back, he continued, "You're a coward who abandoned us." Her words, Delilah's, cut deeper than any blade. I clung to the porch railing like it might hold me against the riptide dragging me down. I had shattered myself, returning to the rig. I went through hell to give Delilah her dream kitchen, to give Miles a future. I missed birthdays, anniversaries, not because I didn't care, but because I believed in us. And they buried me before I had even died. I glanced down at my beautiful son, his small face twisted with terror and shame over things that were never his fault. "You don't have to stay here. You can come with me." I squatted again, steadying my voice. He paused, and I feared the worst. That he wouldn't trust me. That Delilah had poisoned him against me. But he dropped his glove, tightly gripped both of my hands, as if I might vanish if he let go. "I'm coming with you, Dad," he said. I buried my face in his hair, breathed him in, grass, soap, little boy sweat. Even after the world had spun off its axis, he was still mine. When I eventually pulled back, I looked at the house one last time. It was no longer a home. It was a tombstone, peeling paint, gloomy windows, vacant flower beds. I helped Miles into the truck. He buckled himself without being told. I reversed out of the driveway where I once broke my back for this family. Didn't look back. Miles' fingers wrapped around mine, and I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. They thought they could erase me, replace me, but they were wrong. My body followed the streets. My mind was stuck somewhere between heartbreak and fury. Miles sat silently beside me, his tiny fists balled on his lap. I wasn't going to soothe him. Not yet. We were heading toward the church, St. Augustine's, the sacred place where vows are made and now broken. I slowed down as we reached the lot. I scanned the cars, Elise's bright blue coupe, my mother's white sedan, Dad's old Navy pickup, parked with pride. No shame, no guilt. They weren't hiding what they were doing. They were celebrating it. I parked in the shadows, away from the laughter and music. Dad, where are we going? Miles asked softly. The sorrow in his voice nearly crushed me. I looked at him and said, "We're going to remind them who they forgot." He nodded. Brave, resolute, stronger than most grown men I knew. I opened the truck door. The hinges groaned. The church loomed ahead, massive, absurd for a town this small. They'd taken everything but my name. And today, I was going to make them choke on it. March wrapped around us like honey. I clenched my fists. Miles reached for my hand. I gave it a firm squeeze. We pushed through the doors. The music shattered on contact. 200 heads turned. Gasps. A vapor of panic. Like a collective breath sucked out of the room. My boots thudded on the marble floor. Each step echoed. Each stride, a statement. At the altar, Jamie stood in a black tuxedo, smiling like he'd won a prize. Delilah held a bouquet, her dress glimmering in the stained glass light. A queen accepting her crown. Until her eyes met mine. Her face drained. Of color. I spoke, loud, clear, unafraid. Don't let me interrupt. Whispers cracked through the crowd. I didn't flinch. Miles walked beside me, chin up, pace strong. Delilah's hands trembled. Jamie's smirk faltered, his face twisting into panic. The pastor looked lost, shrinking behind them. Fred and Susan couldn't meet my eyes. Dad stared at the floor like it had answers. Mom dabbed at her eyes, but it wasn't regret. It was shame. Caught shame. Elise sat crying. For a second, I pitied her. I stopped halfway, spoke just loud enough. You said, "I abandoned my son." The words hung heavy. Delilah's face crumpled, then turned hard again. "You chose work over us!" she shouted. The ceiling echoed with her fury. I stepped forward, then another, and another. I hit Jaime, hard, straight in the mouth. The sound was louder than any sermon.